Just doing a quick video to show you how to connect up Sonoff using a very simple extension lead. I was halfway through it and thought, no, I really should probably do a bit of a training session on how to do this. So here's my Sonoff device here. You can see I've been playing around with them quite a bit. So I really like these very cheap, simple power extension leads. I like it because it's got a piggyback on the plug end so that you can add other devices that are not switched, and a nice protected socket on the other end. This is simply a 1 meter power extension lead, so you can see it's quite short. So I've done this a few times. I like to keep the earth continuous through these cables. So you can see here is basically I've marked the end at this point here and at this point here, and I'm going to proceed to remove that insulation very carefully so as not to damage the wires underneath. So now we end up with our exposed power cables with the sheath removed. So what you can do here is line up the sheath so that it gets clamped by the clamp when you put it on. Make sure you've got enough length to go into the terminal block so that you can now select this length and cut those wires. So you can see now I've prepared the ends ready to go into the screw terminals. The screw terminals are quite shallow, so they don't need to be a lot of copper exposed. Okay, be very careful to make sure that you've got your input connected onto the input side. The easiest way to check on that is to look at your casing and make sure that the input, and you can see active and neutral or line and neutral. So here in Australia we have brown is your active and blue is your neutral. You can see I've got the earth wire going around, and on the other side I've got my active on the bottom, my neutral on the top. You see there's no copper wires exposed, nice and short, and we can actually clamp down onto the insulation rather than the bare wires. So now it's just a case of working out how your cables are going to lie so that you can then close down on the case. You will notice straight away that I won't be able to close that case because the cable was poking through, and I haven't put this cable through here. What I simply do is grab some nice sharp cutters and just cut this plastic so it makes it, you can easily bend that around the cable, and it's held in place quite well. So I don't think that's a great problem. So now that I've done that, you can see that I can quite simply open that up and pass the cable through. So there's my case all put together. You can see this particular one, I'm running a DHT11 sensor connected to GPIO 14, and you can see I've also modified this for external antenna as well. So I can go ahead and put those cable clamps on now, plug it in and see how it goes. So there it is, all buttoned up now. You can see I've added a little notch in there for my RF cable coming out for the reverse SMA connector, and I've also done the same thing, just cut a small notch out here so those wires don't get crushed for the DHT11 sensor.